The first scream came from inside my head before the door even opened. The house breathed out a cold fog, and the lights behind me died all at once. I had come to record sound for a local history project. The old place sat alone at the edge of pine woods where no birds sang. People said the house was empty. They also said no one stayed long enough to prove it. As I stepped inside, the air grew heavy, like a wet cloth pressed over my face. The floor groaned with each step, a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if the house was counting me. My recorder clicked on by itself. A low hum filled my ears, like distant chanting heard underwater. The entry hall stretched farther than it should. Wallpaper peeled in long strips that resembled skin. The smell was iron and rot. When I spoke my name, the sound returned, thinner and delayed, as if something was repeating it from behind the walls. I told myself it was just nerves. Old buildings settle and echo. I moved forward, and the door behind me shut with a solid, final sound. No latch moved. No wind followed. The silence after the slam was so complete that my heartbeat sounded loud enough to wake the dead. The first room held a staircase that climbed into darkness. Each step was carved with shallow grooves, like tally marks. I touched one and felt a strange warmth. The groove pulsed. I pulled my hand away, but the warmth lingered on my skin. A whisper drifted down from above, spoke my name again, slower this time. The voice sounded like my own, but strained and tired. I raised the recorder, hoping to capture proof. The whisper laughed softly. The laugh had too many breaths in it. Hush. I backed into the next room and nearly fell. The floor dipped, as if something heavy slept beneath it. The walls were lined with framed photographs. Families stared out with blank eyes. Their faces were blurred, except for their mouths, which were open in a mid-scream. In every frame, the same house loomed behind them, the same door, the same darkness. As I moved, the eyes in the photos followed me. I heard a scraping sound, like nails dragged across wood. It came from the ceiling, then from the walls, then from inside my skull. I pressed my hands to my ears, but the sound only grew clearer. Words formed within the scraping. Stay, stay, stay. I ran for the staircase. The steps shifted under my feet, changing height and depth. I stumbled and scraped my knee. Blood dotted the wood. The grooves drank it in and darkened with pleasure. Oh, the house shuddered. Upstairs, the hallway stretched long and narrow. Doors lined both sides, each one slightly open. From every crack seeped a different sound. Crying, prayers, laughter, the clink of metal. I passed them quickly until one door swung wide on its own. Inside was a bedroom with a single mirror on the wall. The mirror reflected me standing alone, yet behind my reflection stood a tall shape pressed close. It had no face, its head tilted as if curious. When I turned, nothing was there. When I faced the mirror again, the shape smiled with a mouth full of darkness. The mirror rippled. A hand pushed through the glass and wrapped around my wrist. The grip was icy and strong. I screamed, and the house screamed with me. The sound layered and multiplied until it became a roar. I yanked free and fell back. The mirror sealed itself, leaving no mark. My wrist burned with the imprint of fingers that did not exist. Footsteps rushed toward me from both ends of the hall. I ran into the nearest room and slammed the door shut. The room was small and bare. In the center stood a chair facing the wall. A man sat there motionless. I touched his shoulder. He turned slowly. His face was my face, older and carved with fear. His eyes were hollow pits, leaking black tears. He opened his mouth and spoke with my voice. You never left. The walls closed in. The ceiling lowered. The older me began to stand, but the floor swallowed his feet. He sank, screaming, into the wood, which softened like mud. The recorder in my hand played back voices I hadn't recorded. Hundreds of them, layered in agony. They begged and warned and laughed. One voice cut through, clear and calm. It told me the house needed witnesses. It fed on attention. Every scream was a brick. Every memory was mortar. The door burst inward. Shadows poured through like smoke, forming limbs and faces. They reached for me, and each touch drained my warmth and hope. I fought through them and sprinted down the hall as the house twisted into impossible angles. The staircase no longer led down. It led into a pit of moving dark. I leaped anyway. The fall was endless until I slammed onto the entry floor. The front door stood open, glowing with pale daylight. I crawled toward it as hands clutched my legs, faces rising from the floorboards, mouthing my name. The whisper returned, louder than ever, promising rest and silence. I crossed the threshold, and the house roared in fury. The door didn't slam this time. It stayed open. I ran into the woods until the trees thinned and the road appeared. Morning light revealed scratches on my arms and the burned print on my wrist. My recorder was still running. When I listened later, the audio was clear. Only my voice spoke. It described rooms I had never entered and deaths I did not remember. At the end of the recording, another voice joined mine. It thanked me for coming home. When I turned off the recorder, my reflection in the screen smiled a moment too late. That night, as I slept, I heard the floor groan in a slow, deliberate rhythm. The house had learned my address. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more content just like this. Thank you for watching.